Welcome to Fast Pace, the new growth, leadership and management podcast featuring Josh Phegan and Dean Mackie. We wanted to peel back the layers on what happens in the world of fast-paced real estate agencies, from new leadership models to the management challenges we all face each day. This is about a new era in the estate agency sector. Rapid changes to business models, service lines, remuneration and growth present the greatest opportunities that we've ever seen. Sit back, get inspired, grow your skills and reimagine what's possible with Fast Pace. Every Friday, wherever you get your podcasts, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts and Josh Phegan Digital. Upskilling teams is what you're in the business in. As a great leader, you're always in that position that you're bringing new people into a business, how they learn that. You've got established players that are in the business that are changing behavior. You've got some old school players that all of a sudden get reinvigorated and say, you know what, I want to learn more about that. Dean, upskilling teams is a never-ending process inside of any business. And we live in a world where there's so many different ways that we can do it, whether or not it's in a digital environment where they're watching pre-recorded videos and audio, they're in live meetings, they're in conversations, they're in training, they're just having a great walk around the block or a lunch or a coffee with someone who actually helps to get them to that point. Dean, what are your thoughts about upskilling teams? How do you do it? What are some of the conversations that are important here?
I love this space, Josh. I think that, I live in a business where it's all about how do we unlock people's purpose, how do we give power to their purpose? And that's really trying to get to the heart of where their opportunities are. And I think a lot of that conversation we have in our organisation, what I love about it is that it really is about uncovering those skill gaps. And it's not just the sort of, when you start thinking about skill gaps or upgrades, we've got a lot of people who've got really good technical, skills. And I think the first reaction is for most of us to go, let's have a look at their technical skills. How good are they selling? How good are they managing the vendor? How good are they doing the admin? How good are they generating new business? They're all the tactical skills that I know you run through with a lot of your blueprint stuff. And I remember way back when you and I first started, I went out and I created a skills gap analysis based upon your blueprint bullet points. Yeah. And I got all my team to go through at the time and say, right, we're going to go through and develop a personal, in your business plan. It's really important to me that you have a personal development plan. Now people go, what do you mean? It's like, okay, well, we're going to basically sit down every quarter for the next, however long we're working together, we're going to put in place some 90-day action plans on some core development. Now, where I used to start back then was to go through your checklist and go, give me a rating on how you see yourself out of 10, with 10 being you're the best in the world and 1 is nowhere, and give me a sense of where you're at. And then let's identify where the biggest opportunities are for you to actually get a return on your time if you're going to invest it right now to improve your skill set. So that's where we used to start. Right. And it's sort of funny when you sort of take back and you think about, I only remembered it just now. And that skill gap.
Is it bringing a nightmare or PTSD?
No, I still love it. And the funny thing is I still pull it out now. It's the same old list. It's a pretty crappy thing on an Excel spreadsheet that I used to go and it's just, and when I'm doing coaching, it was one of the first things I'm doing with people to say, give me a sense of where you think you're at on these things and let's agree where we think you're going to get the biggest bang for buck for our time on the technician part of it, right? Because the technician part's one part of it. So, you've got basic level skills and new starters and emerging talent right through to, university qualified, Philip Panzer Donnellys of the world. You know what I mean? Like there's different degrees of skill that different people have in different things. And I'm sure that even when you look at any highly skilled agent, they've also got skill deficiencies in other areas. So, I think you've got to say, well,
like sophistication too. Like I can walk into some businesses where the level of sophistication is that complicated. And in other businesses, like, so what do we say to the buyer? Like the level of sophistication is very low.
Oh yeah. But I think you get that in every level, depending upon levels of development of people coming through the system, right?
And markets? Have you noticed that between regional versus city?
Yeah, I've definitely noticed there's different skill sets because also some in those markets, they might not be highly auction orientated and different things. And so, there are a lot of country markets still doing caravans, and I see it even in my business. It's arguable to me as why you do that. But, you got to let people run their own course in their own markets for what works for them. So but I think if we're coming to skill development, I think there's a lot of things you've got to agitate and challenge for here because one part is the technician element, but the next part is actually helping people get to the next level, right? It's like letting go of the mooring lines of how are we going to help your business be a better and bigger business? Do you want why would you actually even want a 2x your business or 3x? And what's that going to give to you? So let's get clear about what is it that you're actually doing this for. Right. Let's because depending upon how much skill development you need is depending upon how far you want to go and how quick. Right. So like if you don't really want to go that far real quick, then maybe you don't need too much more upskilling.
Just leave as you are.
Just keep doing what you're doing, man. Because then there's some people who are lifestyle agents who are happy to do that, who don't really want to get on board with the upskilling, right?
Which comes back down to that RE1's big thing about change, dissatisfaction, vision, and first steps. If you're not dissatisfied or have a vision, mate, there's probably not going to be much that's going to go on.
Yeah, totally. You're not going to agitate for the growth. So, we look to employ people and partner with people that have a bit of a learn it all culture. And that learn it all culture is really important because it means we know we're going to get people who do want to upskill and do want to improve. So for me, I'm really a big believer of as a leader of a real estate business, it's your responsibility to alongside of, and you can't just flog a dead horse because they have to be motivated for the right reasons to do it, but to invest in the development of new skills and help people fill the gaps, as they're going on that journey. So, for some people, they might have high technician skills, but as they build into teams, and what are the skills they might need as a team, to manage a team or manage a team, run a meeting or coach or recruit or, and sure, you're going to help and run alongside and help with that. But there's going to be an element of communication that they have to adjust going from one agent to 2 to 3 to 4 or 5. It might be, okay, geez, we've got all this, how do they use data more effectively? There's a lot of retraining and reskilling for people to understand what is the part that they play in filling that data piece that then gives so much more information for that team to generate more leads for themselves. If they don't understand their part, they're not going to do it, right? So there's a lot of upskilling, I think, if you're not on a journey of constant learning and improving, and, we often say, your first, when you fail at your first attempt at success, right? It's just one of those things. There's no such thing as failure. It's a learning process. And so every opportunity there is to learn and upskill, but it comes down to you really having a sense of why you're doing it, how you. Otherwise, change and learning, it can be painful for people. Some people might resist it, and like I've said to you, if they can't see the benefit of the pain and the change and the learning and taking themselves out of their comfort zone to get better, then they're probably just going to want to sit in the comfort zone for the rest of their life. But if you can agitate for growth, then sure. Upskilling for high performance is really important. So things like even other stuff, Josh. Like I think high performance is massively linked to mind mastery, right? When I say mind mastery, I'm talking about well-being, right? That's your physical and mental well-being. It's a big thing that people talk about and they glass over when they hear well-being, but I see it as a key pillar for high performance in your life. Yeah, and I think that a lot of people are increasingly learning to understand that. So the question is what upskilling do you help your team do in your business at the moment around that to actually then become better people, more successful, happier, and then more effective in their work? So when it comes to upskilling, it's not just a simple technician's list of the skills that you need to build to actually be a good real estate agent. It's like, what are all the other things you need to be successful in life, business, and everything else?
Dean, do you ever work with someone and then just go, oh, can't believe they didn't know that?
Yeah.
And this is the kind of funny thing about it though, is that I know I'm guilty of it. I'll walk into a room and sometimes I'll work with some people and I just assumed that they've got that knowledge.
Yeah.
But and sometimes I forget the knowledge that I've got.
Yeah.
And then I go and I say something and it's I'm blowing light bulbs out on that particular person.
And then they sometimes won't say anything for fear of feeling in, because you're Josh Phegan and they're them and they're like, hey, if I want to say things, I'll be embarrassed because Josh doesn't know that I don't know what I don't know.
And what the greatest moment as a coach?
What's that?
When they come privately and they go, oh man, I just wanted to say that thing that you did.
Yeah, it was awesome.
I then went and did that.
Yeah, difference, yeah.
And this is what happened in my life.
Yeah.
And you never understand the power of a conversation until probably a decade later sometimes. And I think that about upskilling. And so at the micro level, I'll do this. So Dean, right now, if I'm going to help you, what are literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 skills that you'd love to get some help around? And you'll say, X, Y, and Z. And some of those might be around symptoms that you're trying to fix when there's actually a different skill that you haven't even identified. I've got to go and do some work on that.
Yeah, that's true. That's often the case. It's not often the thing that they tell you that they've got a problem with that is the problem.
Yeah. And so I've got this real problem around prospecting, but the actual challenge is they haven't really learned much about listing yet. And if they learn how to list, they become a much better prospector because they learn questioning skills. And if they got the questioning skills right, that would actually help in the prospecting.
Josh, I think you're right. I've always had an issue with upskilling in real estate per se, mainly because most of the industry is based upon say this, do this, attends, without really stopping off and saying, right, well, what is negotiation skills 101? What are all the different closing techniques that I need to learn? What is active base? What is active listening? What are the things? What are my time management skills like? Because to be a good agent, you need to have good time management skills, right? So pulling all those bits apart, and often, someone will say, oh yeah, here's an ideal week, follow it. But you're not actually giving people the right skills to actually learn how to time manage effectively. And if you're a high D, ADHD type prone OCD person, which a lot of them are, then time management's not often their best skills. But if they can get hold of it, they're actually weapons because then once their time is focused, they're brilliant, right? So skill set and competency based development is crucial. And I guess what I'd say too is probably one of the biggest areas that we're all going through right at the moment is the whole sort of digital and tech upgrade of our agencies and agents. And so I'm constantly having to unlearn and relearn and go into environments and go, geez, what was that again? How does that work? Geez, what's the benefit of that? But I think if you remain curious and you ask questions, and then the opportunity for upskilling is enormous. I do think that most firms tend to possibly think if you run a sales meeting, a couple of training sessions, then you're actually doing the upskilling that you need. But it's a lot deeper than that. It requires a lot more work.